Greetings. This devotion is for the 1st of June, and the reading comes from the 15th chapter of Acts, verses 1 through 5. Then certain individuals came down from Judea and were teaching the brothers, "Unless you are circumcised according to the custom of Moses, you cannot be saved." And after Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and debate with them, Paul and Barnabas and some of the others were appointed to go to Jerusalem to discuss this question with the apostles and the elders. So they were sent on their way by the church, and as they passed through both Phoenicia and Samaria, they reported the conversation of the Gentiles and brought great joy to all believers. When they came to Jerusalem, they were welcomed by the church and the apostles and elders, and were reporting all that God had done with them. But some believers who belonged to the sect of the Pharisees stood up and said, "It is necessary for them to be circumcised in order to keep the law of Moses." So, what we see here is one of the intense and early debates in the church, and what it's centered around. And we see a lot of this around circumcision, and as it to be a requirement to be a part of the Christian church. Now, for those who had Jewish background, a lot of the early church of Jesus were converts from Judaism. And so they would have in their own background been following these laws, and they would have been circumcised. But as Paul especially was out into the Gentile world, that was not something they would have done. And so they wouldn't have been. And so the Jews were saying, to be a Christian, you needed to go through the same thing that we went through, pretty much. Thus, the debate. Right? Now, of course, the messages here is that, or the first piece of this message is that we've always done it that way, and it has to be that way forever. It is the only way, right? And those are the kinds of things, the kinds of stuff that always harms the growth of the church, right? But the other piece here I want to lift up, right, is that how important was it when this debate happened that not one person made a decision, but what they did is they gathered together with their council, right? Now, that happened to be in Jerusalem, but nevertheless, it was important that all the minds came together and talked about an issue that was important to the people. That's an important concept, because in so there's a lot of minds thinking about it, and that's where we find compromise. It's where we find other thoughts, and this is patterned right here in Acts around a very central, difficult issue for the earliest of church. Now, in the end, we could read along in 15, in the end they figured out that circumcision wasn't as important, but rather those who came to faith in Jesus, not putting blocks up in front of them like circumcision, was far more important. And if you read further, you see that that's what they came to. They came to basics and left all the other stuff aside. Now, they didn't say those things were wrong, but they did qualify what was most important. That's often what happens when you come together as a group. Right? It's never anybody's one way. And I think that's what Jesus wants of us. Whenever there's an issue, it should never be my way or that person's way or that person's way. Right? We want to come together as a group and find a way in between. always under the grace and glory of God. Join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.